Well, probably not the game that many people were expecting tonight, but kind of a fitting end to deciding an NFC East champion after a very weird season in this division. And we are going to break it down for you here on the post-game show presented by Rico, Amy Campbell, along with Fran Duffy and Ike Reese, as always. And guys, a lot to unpack in this one. I'm not sure this was the game that a lot of people were expecting today, but somebody had to win this division. It's kind of been a theme in the NFL this whole year, and Washington will be going to the playoffs after beating the Eagles there in South Philadelphia with a final score of 20-14. We got to see a lot of young players. We got to see a lot of interesting things tonight. Fran, let me start with you. Let's start to put this thing together. What are you thinking about right now?
Well, we got to see some young players play. As you mentioned, we saw a lot of players inactive for this one, right? So no Carson Wentz, no Jordan Mailata, no Deshaun Jackson, no Alshon Jeffrey, no Dallas Goedert, no Miles Sanders, no Fletcher Cox, no Duke Riley. The list goes on and on. No Nickel Roby-Coleman, no Jalen Mills. So we saw a lot of players today, and a lot of players that Eagles fans may or may not be all that familiar with. So it was great to see a Marcus Epps interception. It was great to see TJ Edwards make some plays in coverage. We got to see some plays from some young receivers. I thought J.J. Arcega-Whiteside made some nice, tough catches today. So we'll go back to the film on Monday. I'm excited to kind of go through that and see how some of these guys looked looking at the All-22. But that was one of the goals of today, right, is to get one last exposure, some final exposure to some of the young players on this roster before going into the offseason.
Well, and one of those young players, of course, with a lot of attention tonight was Jalen Hurts. We got to see him do a lot of nice things. Still a rookie, but we got to get a little bit more of a feel for the type of prospect that he is and potentially what he can offer in this league. He plays for 3 quarters, and then Nate Sudfeld comes in to wrap this thing up. Ike, let's start to put this together. What are you thinking?
Well, Fran, Amy, we knew this game was going to be tough. With the amount of players that the Eagles were going to be missing. So it was going to be tough for them to win this football game. Washington with an awful lot to play for, a division crown on the line. But to watch the guys go out there and compete tonight, I got to admit it was a more competitive game than I thought it would be. And that has to be, credit to the players for going out there and putting forth an honest day's work. So you got a chance to see some young players. You obviously getting another opportunity to see Jalen Hurts play at the quarterback position. Even though he was going to be undermanned over there on the offensive side of the ball, it was good to see him go out there and lead the offense again. And I thought he did as best as he could with what he had to work with out there as a quarterback. Again, you knew he would be shorthanded. The amount of players that was just ruled out before this game started. You just knew it would be tough sledding for this team today.
Yeah, that's a great point there, Ike. And let's bring in Eagles insider Dave Spadaro. Dave, I want to get your thoughts on this one. Just initial thoughts on what we saw tonight from this game, and Washington's going to the playoffs after the Eagles lose tonight.
Yeah, and my initial reaction is reading all my texts from my Giants friends. Hey, the Eagles owe the New York Giants nothing, okay? Stop your crying, Giants fans. If it was that important to you, if it was really like in your hands, you don't let the game come down to the Philadelphia Eagles deciding your playoff opportunities. But as far as the Philadelphia Eagles go, I liked what Jalen Hurts did. I thought the offensive line, when he was in there, held up pretty well against Washington's front. Obviously, when Nate Sudfeld came in, they were teeing off on his lack of mobility. Nate, really tough situation for him, not playing all season. Otherwise, disappointing that Jalen Reagor out of the game. Only 11 games this season, 31 catches. You got to stay on the field. You have to be productive. That is something to look forward to. But Eagles have the 6th pick in the draft, and let's make sure that Howie Roseman and company hit home runs in the draft because this football team needs a lot.
Dave, was there a young player for you that stood out most in this game? Was there a guy that you kind of came coming away not impressed anybody?
No, not really. I mean, Ike's over there laughing. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I mean, I'm impressed with Jalen Hurts. Travis Fulgham had 1 catch and stepped out of bounds. Jalen Reagor had a ball down the field that I thought he could catch and didn't make the catch. The defense played hard. I really liked Darius Slay, and at the times that Terry McLaurin was out there, did a nice job. And I do think Marcus Epps is somebody who's in the conversation at safety with Jalen Mills, a free agent to be, with Rodney McLeod, an injured player with it coming back from a knee injury. So Marcus Epps a couple of interceptions here in the last few weeks. But no, I mean, you know what actually sticks out at me? I think Boston Scott had a pretty good game. 15 carries, 65 yards, something like that. But when the Eagles were inside the 10-yard line, and it's been a recurring theme all season, they just don't have enough size to run the football when Miles Sanders isn't in there. And it cost them in that red zone situation late in the game. So that's something that I'm looking at all these pieces. You know, John Hightower didn't jump out at me. Quez Watkins had a drop. Fulgham had the step out of bounds. No, nothing else really jumped out at me.
I'll tell you the one thing I was impressed with, Dave, and you mentioned it a little bit. When you look at the defensive side of the ball, we saw a tweet of the defensive players getting together with Jim Schwartz and some of the other coaches right before the game and really coming together as a unit and looking as if they wanted to go out there and put forth a good showing in what will probably be his last game as an Eagles coach. Just talk about, like you mentioned the defensive effort, but you got to be impressed. I mean, these guys, they played their hearts out tonight over there on that side of the ball.
Yeah, I am impressed, Ike, and I'm also going to say that it didn't appear that Alex Smith could get the football down the field, couldn't really get the drive to throw the ball down the field. So the Eagles did a nice job against the run, and the front four played well. And Alex Singleton, again, 13 tackles according to the game book. That will be adjusted by the coaches. So I think Alex Singleton has shown over a consistent period of time here that he can be a starting linebacker in this defense, and I think that's something to build around. But they were solid. I thought they actually tackled quite well tonight, and getting the interceptions was great to see. But again, just not enough. I would have loved to have seen Jalen Hurts play the whole game. And I know you want to take a look at Nate Sudfeld. You want to give him a shot here. It's been a tough couple of years for Nate. But I would have loved to have seen him have a chance on national television, last game of the NFL regular season, 2-minute drive to win the football game. But not to be. Interesting, obviously set up. A great series of questions coming up for Doug Peterson after this football game.
Dave, I know obviously there's going to be a lot that needs to be talked about with this team going into the offseason. Obviously the big topic is going to be the quarterback position, but putting that one aside, outside of quarterback, what for you are the biggest topics and the biggest discussion points for this team, for this roster going into 2021?
Okay, number one, how are you going to get down to the cap? All right, how many players are you going to have to cut or redo their contracts, or what are you going to do to get down to the cap? Number two, where are you going to go in free agency? Do you have any resources at all to spend in free agency? I mean, Howie is great at it. Jake Rosenberg, great at running the cap and taking advantage of every little piece of loophole or whatever advantage they can have there with the cap. Number three, the offensive line. How much do you believe that you can count on Brandon Brooks coming back? How much can you count on Lane Johnson coming back? What do you believe you have at the skill positions, okay? And then, look, the draft. You have to hit on your draft picks big time, okay? Where is the blue chip talent on this roster? The Pro Bowlers are older veterans. Where is the young group of talent that you are building around? We've only seen one Pro Bowler drafted here since, 2014, and that's Carson Wentz. So, and obviously the quarterback question is the biggest one of the offseason, but we're setting that aside right now. How are you filling in this roster through the draft? Look, what tonight showed me, Washington stinks, okay? I mean, the losing game one, we knew it at the time it was going to come back and bite the Eagles, and it did. The Eagles' skeleton crew, and had Jalen Hurts stayed in the game, I think the Eagles win the game. The Eagles' skeleton crew nearly beat the Washington team that had everything on the line tonight. So you're in a division that is not, you're not chasing the Kansas City Chiefs. You're not chasing the vintage New England Patriots. What can you do to get back into contention with a fourth-place schedule, with the sixth pick in the draft, with ample opportunities to hit it big in the draft? The Eagles need to bring in blue-chip talent on this roster. They've got some good things to work with, potentially, with the offensive line, with Miles, with some young receivers that you hope develop in their second seasons with Dallas Goedert. We don't know about Zach Ertz. I think a lot of veterans are going to be shed here. There's going to be a lot of new names. Howie Roseman talked last year about getting younger and getting faster. And the Eagles started to do that. And then the injuries hit, and they had to bring back some older players. They had to rely on Alshon Jeffrey and Jason Peters and Deshaun Jackson, etc. How are you going to get younger? How are you going to get better? How are you going to bring in blue chip talent? How are you going to navigate the cap and set yourself up kind of for the future here? Because it's going to be very, very difficult with the way the cap is going to stay flat at best. And the Eagles, of course, well over the projected number.
You mentioned the talent that has to be brought in, Dave, and you certainly can't win unless you have talent on this football team. We know there's going to be changes on the coaching staff as well. Jim Schwartz reportedly won't be back next year. Just your thoughts on what you would like to see sort of from a philosophy standpoint from the defensive side of the football moving forward. You know, I was raised on the Jim Johnson. Obviously, that's who I played under. We know about Buddy and his days here as a defensive coordinator and a coach. How do we get back to that old identity from a defensive standpoint that we used to have on that side of the football?
I guess like what I would say is I want to see a more physical Philadelphia Eagles defense, and I want to see one that is better at taking the football away. I want to see one that is better in the red zone. Two problem areas here in the last few years for the Philadelphia Eagles. But again, that goes back to blue chip talent. And what you're working with really defensively are older players. How much does Brandon Graham have left? How much does Fletcher Cox have left? Is Javon Hargrave going to be a dominant player from start to finish next year? Who's your other defensive end? What are you going to do with Derek Barnett, who's got a fifth-year option? Who's going to play safety for this football team? There are glaring holes there. Who's your other cornerback? It's hard to say what kind of scheme you're going to play, what kind of personnel you have. You know, does Davion Taylor emerge at all in year number 2 after playing very, very little? A third-round pick who gave the Eagles absolutely nothing on defense in his rookie season. So there's just a lot of pieces to put together and then to create a scheme. Ike, you usually create the scheme, you build the scheme around the talent that you have. I don't think anybody knows what talent the Eagles are going to have on defense because there's going to be potentially so many changes here. But I certainly would like to see a more aggressive, physical. I just want some butt kickers out there. I want the Ike Reeses, the Brian Dawkins, the Jeremiah Trotters, you know, guys who went after it and who were really, really physical. This is an undersized kind of defense that hasn't put a lot of value at the linebacker position. You know, maybe it's time to kind of rethink that.
So, Dave, before I let you go for now, I have a note to myself from the pregame show to ask you your thoughts on Brett Toth tonight because you were so looking forward to seeing him in tonight's game.
From initial glance, Amy, I would say that when Jalen Hurts was in there, he played pretty well, okay? Did a pretty nice job. When Nate Sudfeld, more statutory quarterback, was in there, Montez Sweat had more success, and maybe Brett wore down a little bit. But I guess I would tell you that at first glance, without looking at the film, he was okay early on. Like the rest of the offensive line, as the game wore on, Washington brought more pressure, and Nate couldn't run away from it. So I don't know how much of it was Jalen Hurts running away from it, the Eagles designing Hurts to get out of the pocket, but, you know, it was good experience for Brett Toth, and, you know, I think the Eagles want to keep working with him and see what he's got moving forward as they build some depth, some young depth. If there is a silver lining among the offensive line this year, it's that these young players had a lot of reps, and the Eagles can build with those players and the returning veterans to get back to what is most important in football, winning at the line of scrimmage. And that's something that the Eagles did not do enough in 2020.
Well, certainly in a year of uncertainty, in a difficult season, a silver lining is something I will always look for and point to. Dave, thanks so much for joining us tonight and all season long.
And one thing, Giants fans, stop your crying, all right?
My boyfriend is a Giants fan and is literally so mad right now, so whatever.
They all are.
Yeah, you can't, like you said, Dave, you cannot leave it in the hands of another team when it comes to your fate. I'm with you on that
That's
one.
That's right. All righty, guys.
All right, great stuff there from Dave. As always, a lot of big picture stuff to think about, and, you know, that is kind of where we are looking now as the season is behind us. But Ike, let's get into some of your takeaways from tonight, either from tonight's game, looking ahead. I'm sure we're going to do a lot of big picture evaluating throughout this evening in our conversations, but let's get into some of your thoughts.
Yeah, it wasn't pretty tonight. And I mentioned it earlier, obviously, with the amount of players they were going to be missing coming into this game, you just didn't know what type of effort or performance you were going to get from the Eagles. And I got to admit, I was pleasantly surprised. This was a more competitive game. Now, you may say Washington isn't that good of a football team. That's part of it. But the fact that the Eagles were out there with really a preseason squad with a second-round quarterback making his fourth start, and for them to be as competitive as they were in this game, to even have a lead after being down 10-0, it went for naught. But by the same token, that's a reflection of the type of coaching that they're getting, and the fact that these players still go out there and play hard for Doug Peterson. That's something that stood out to me. Because again, prior to kickoff tonight, I did not expect, I thought this would be an ugly game tonight. And it was a little bit more competitive than I thought it was going to be. Some of that has to do with the lack of talent on both sides of the football. But, I want to give the guys credit, the young guys that played tonight. I want to give them credit for at least going out there and playing hard tonight.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, especially with all of the veterans, all of the big pieces on this team that were inactive heading into this one, that this game was so close, that this game was so competitive, that it was less than one score, a touchdown at the end of it. I think, and you could just see that this team was playing to win, the entire time, and that's what you want to see on any Sunday. One thing that really stood out to me on that note, I talk a lot about the struggles for Washington as well, and you mentioned, Ike, the talent that they have, but really their most talented unit is that defensive front. They had 8 sacks against the Eagles the first time they played, only 1 sack tonight for them, and of course with the Eagles' offensive line struggles and all the shuffling there, to me that was definitely a bright spot as well.
How about that? I didn't even realize that they only had 1 sack tonight.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
Yep.
I mean, that first game of the season was embarrassing.
No, I'm sorry. Actually,
Ike,
it was 1 sack on Jalen Hurts and two on Nate Sudfeld. So, which would make a little bit more sense.
Still, that's 3. Yeah, that's still 3 versus that first game where it was 8. So, yeah, you're right. That's the young offensive linemen. The one thing you can't say, it hasn't been pretty for them all year, but they did gain some valuable experience of being out there and playing. So, and that's good. That's good tape that Jeff Stoutland and the organization can evaluate on these young guys that you may not have gotten if the veterans hadn't been healthy this year.
Yeah, Fern, what did you see just from this team playing hard and on that note with the offensive line doing a pretty decent job against a Washington front?
Yeah, I mean, that was to be expected. I mean, you're going to have the vets. They're going to come in. They're playing for pride, and the young guys are going to be playing for their livelihoods, to be honest. They're trying to find a way to stick in the NFL, whether it's here or in another city in 2021. So the fact that they came out and played hard and fought to win, that does not shock me in the slightest. That's what I would expect from all those guys in that locker room. And I know that Doug Peterson and that coaching staff, that's the message that they preached all week long coming into this matchup, was that we are coming in it to win it, and we expect that kind of effort from you guys out in the field, whoever is out there. And I thought that's what we saw tonight. That honestly, that did not shock me one bit.
Well, we heard Alex Singleton in the pregame show say, look, if I'm going to a place to get a sandwich, everyone's favorite sandwich restaurant, and they're closing at 4 and I get there at 3:50, I'm expecting them to still make my sandwich the right way because that is their job. And that's how you have to think about it. Ike, what else stood out to you tonight?
I don't think I've ever heard that analogy before, but I like that from Alex Singleton. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Well, I mean, Jalen Hurts coming into this game, really the last month has pretty much been about watching Jalen Hurts every week and seeing how much he's growing as a quarterback, or is he taking any steps back. Now, tonight, it wasn't as aesthetically pleasing to watch in the passing game. He made a couple of nice throws, but the passing game overall just seemed like it was out of sync. But I like what he was able to do with his legs. I like the fact that he was changing plays at the line of scrimmage when he saw things that he did not like. So I think he took another step forward, even though it may not show in some of these passing categories, but the fact that he had 2 rushing touchdowns, the 1 interception he threw, I can't blame him for that. I think Zach Ertz got to do a better job of getting his head around quicker. So I thought Jalen Hurts played another nice game, even though the numbers weren't overwhelming like they had been the last 2 weeks. I thought he played a nice, clean game and managed the game as best he could.
Yeah, and according to ESPN Stats and Info, he is the first Eagles quarterback with 2 rushing touchdowns in a game since Michael Vick in 2010. Vick also did it against Washington. Fran, what did you see from Hurts tonight?
Yeah, I thought that, honestly, it was not his best performance. You know, there were a lot of plays I think he certainly left on the field. You liked his ability and his decisiveness to take off and make plays with his legs. I thought we saw certainly that down in the red zone. The Eagles allowing him, you know, you had the rollout play where he's rolling to his right. And on those kinds of plays, you're going to give a quarterback like Jalen Hurts the freedom to be able to take off if that first read is not there. It wasn't, and he was able to run into the end zone for the first touchdown. And then on the second, the Eagles were in an empty set. And Washington, they played a little bit soft coverage. There was nobody in the middle of the field. He didn't like what he saw as a passer, took off, took the green grass in front of him, and ended up going in. So I think when you look at those 2 plays, you like the decisiveness there from Jalen Hurts. He's going to have to continue to make strides, making plays from the pocket as a passer. But again, that's what you would expect from a young rookie quarterback. And I thought that we saw a little bit, we saw some good, we saw some bad here tonight against Washington.
Well, and Hurts's final stat line for the evening: passing 7 of 20, 35%. Not great there, but of course we mentioned those 2 rushing touchdowns, 8 rushes, 34 yards, but 2 of those touchdowns as well. And 1 interception on the evening for him there. All right. Of course, we're looking at the box score here, and not as much offense as we had seen in the past couple of weeks. Less than nearly 1,000 total yards. So very different ball game, which speaks to this kind of game here, low scoring as well. 5 turnovers between the 2 teams, but the Eagles do, or no, they don't win the turnover battle. Sorry, guys. It's a late night on Sunday Night Football, and the math is not my strong suit right now. All right, let's continue with your takeaways. Let's get to number 3, because I can still count, though.
Yeah, and at the end of the night, the Eagles finished the season at 4-11-1. They're going to be in the 6th position when it comes to the NFL draft next year. And I understand that's not what these players were worried about. But when you look at the big picture in the organization and how they're going to improve moving forward, you hope you're not in this position very often where you're drafting in the top 10, top 5, because that means you had a pretty tough year in most cases. But when you are in this position, you got to make sure you take advantage of it. And the last couple of times the Eagles have been this high up in the draft, they managed to hit on those guys. And off the top of my head, you think of Carson being taken at number 2. You think of Lane Johnson being taken at number 4. I think of Corey Simon, when I played here, being taken at number 6. Donovan McNabb being taken at number 2. So those are when you're that high up in the draft, you have to hit on those picks. And the Eagles have been able to do that under this regime. And they're going to have the 6th pick this year. And they have to make sure they get another cornerstone player like they've been able to get in years past when they had the misfortune of drafting this high in the draft. Like I said, you don't want to be here too often, but when you are, you got to make sure you hit on that pick. And that's what the Eagles have to sort of take away from this season, is that they're going to have an opportunity to potentially get a game-changing player to add to this roster.
Well, and that is, of course, a silver lining and something to look forward to, especially as we put this season behind us. It's going to be a lot of excitement, a lot of optimism looking towards the draft and that number 6 pick. And Fran, I know you're going to be covering that plenty here and on the Journey to the Draft podcast. But does that give you a little extra excitement looking towards the fact that that is such a high pick and the caliber of talent is going to be pretty high?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, look, it's a silver lining in the whole season, right? It was a very rough year for this team on the field, and now they have to find ways to be able to get better. You know, Dave talked about it earlier. It's about trying to get more talent onto this team, and when you have the 6th overall pick, and by the way, a top 5 pick moving forward into all the rounds ensuing after that, I think that obviously gives you that opportunity to be able to add some quality pieces. And Ike went through some of the names. The Eagles have had a lot of success up that high in the draft. There are going to be some players available in this one that can help this football team. You know, whether it's at corner, wide receiver, you look at linebacker, is quarterback on the table. There are plenty of players up and down the depth chart there that you can look at in the draft and say, yeah, like these guys can make an impact. That being said, we are a long way. We have 4.5 months before we get there, and there's a lot that needs to happen before that between free agency and everything. So it's going to be a long offseason, but it's an important one here for this team.
Well, as we start to go a little bit big picture, I want to start here. I want to ask each of you, what is your biggest question for this team in the offseason? What are you most intrigued by seeing what happens moving forward? Ike, I'll start with you.
Well, the quarterback position. I mean, at some point, the organization is going to make a decision in which direction they want to go. And it may be having both guys here. But until you solidify that, it's difficult to know where you're headed as an organization. And so that's probably the biggest thing the organization is going to have.
I actually have to cut you off because Doug Peterson is at the podium, so let's listen to Coach.
Hey, Coach. Thanks for taking the time. We'll get started here with Bo Wolf and then Jeff McLean.
Hey, Doug. Obviously, there is a lot of attention being paid to the decision to put in Nate Sudfeld in the fourth quarter. They said on the broadcast that was your hope coming into the game. Did you have input from Jeffrey Lurie and Howie Roseman on that decision, or was that only your decision? And were you coaching to win tonight?
Yes, I was coaching to win. Yes, that was my decision solely. Nate has obviously been here for 4 years, and I felt that he deserved an opportunity to get some snaps. And listen, if there's anything out there that thinks that I was not trying to win the game, I mean, you know, Ertz is out there, Brandon Graham's out there, Darius Slay's out there. You know, all our top guys are still on the field at the end. So we were going to win the game.
Jeff and then Dave Zangaro.
Doug, you pulled your quarterback when you were down 3 in the beginning of the fourth quarter. I don't think anyone thinks that you weren't trying to do something in terms of tanking the game. So my question to you then is, you know, why would you do that? Is this just for the draft picks, or is this something else that we're missing here?
Pretty simple. I wanted to get the plan this week was to get Nate some time, and I felt like it was the time to get him in the game.
Steve and then John McMullen.
Hey, Doug, there's a report that Carson Wentz is expected to ask for a trade. What's your reaction to that? Do you expect that to happen? And do you think he can still be the quarterback here in the future?
Look, I've answered this question quite a bit, and you know how I feel about Carson Wentz. I've got the utmost respect for him, and I feel like that we can together get these things corrected and get back on track. And that's my mindset going into the offseason, and you know, that's where I'm at. And you know, all this other stuff I believe is just sort of, you know, what's out there. I haven't really seen any of that stuff, so. I still have total faith, total trust in Carson Wentz and myself together to get the job done.
John and then Nick Fierro.
Hey, Doug. There was also reports that Jim Schwartz will let his contract expire and leave the Eagles. Can you confirm that? And what has he meant for you over the past 5 years? Is obviously a very important member of your coaching staff.
Yeah, you know, as you guys know, these are the conversations that we're going to have, you know, here in the next couple of days, and Jim and I will obviously sit down and talk and just see where he's at if that's the case. I can tell you this, I truly appreciate Jim Schwartz and the 5 years that we've worked together and helped the Philadelphia Eagles win a championship in 2017, and he's really done an outstanding job for us, for me, and obviously the organization. So whatever he decides moving forward, obviously I will support that, and we will have these conversations here in the next few days.
Nick and then Tim McManus.
Yeah, hi, Doug. As far as Carson Wentz goes, after his rookie season, he hired a personal coach, to work with in the off season to help with a lot of things, mechanics. Would you necessarily encourage him to maybe do that again, especially if you're going to be in a situation where you might be limited again with a kind of an uncertain off season as far as person-to-person contact?
These are things that players do, obviously around the league, particularly quarterbacks, and work with guys that can help work on things in the off season, because as you know, we don't have access to our players, and it's unfortunate the rules are that way. But if he can get some work in, and as long as the work is in line with what we teach and the things that we're doing to help him, then yeah, I'm all for that kind of stuff, and getting himself better. I just wish that we had an opportunity as coaches to really work with our players a little bit more in the off season.
Tim and then Jimmy Kempski.
Doug, in a report specifically, it said that your relationship with Carson is fractured beyond repair. Curious from your vantage point how you view your relationship with Wentz right now.
I don't understand again where these are coming from. My relationship with Carson has been good. It's been professional. It's we've communicated over the last month of the season. Listen, I know he's frustrated. He was the starter, and I get that, and that's understandable. But I have so much confidence in him and myself that we can work on the things we need to work on and get it done.
Jimmy and then Martin Frank.
Hey, Doug. Jason Kelce spoke pretty passionately with us a couple weeks ago about always doing everything possible to win games, no matter what your record is. And even if you were playing to win, as you say, most people wouldn't see it that way. So is there any concern about the long-term ramifications that a game like this can have on the culture of your locker room and the prideful veterans in it?
No, I don't think so. I just think that, we're in a situation to get some guys in the football game and play and help us try to win this game. And Kelce obviously he's such a great competitor and just like, all the guys, they want to win and do everything in their power who are out there playing. He's obviously a great leader, but I don't think there will be any issue with our culture moving forward.
Martin and then Zach Berman.
Hey, Doug, what made you want to pass up the field goal there on that 4th and goal near the end of the third quarter? And what did you think about Jalen Hurts' pass into the end zone? Was that one of the reasons why you decided to take him out too?
No, that wasn't the reason why I've told you the reason why I put Nate in the game. They switched personnel, went to five bigs, 5 D linemen, put a little extra pressure on the quarterback there. We had a couple successful runs, and that's why they made their switch. So it made it a little bit harder there to run the ball, and I would say credit Washington. They covered our guys pretty well. We had an opportunity there at on the 4th down, just a throw that Jalen would probably like to have back to Quez, and he can make that play. But that's going to be a learning moment, I think, for all of us, and obviously for him in a situation like that. And as far as going for it, my mindset down there is when you're that close, just go ahead and continue to stay aggressive and try to score.
Zach and Les Bowen.
Hey, Doug, what was your last message to the team in the locker room? And these next 2-3 days, what's the plan for you?
I told them that I was proud of them. It's not obviously not the season that we all had hoped for at the beginning of the year, and this team faced with a lot of adversity and a lot of scrutiny, and whether it was right or whether it was wrong, they hung together, and that's what I'm most proud of this football team, and how guys stood up week in and week out, and through the face of adversity, battled right to the end. And that's what I'm the most proud of. And these next couple of days are just going to be that, just evaluations. We'll finish up with the players tomorrow and get them in and do the exit physicals and things of that nature, and then sit down and we've got to, as a staff, we have to evaluate everything from our players to just about everything that we've done this season, and get a plan for 2021 moving forward.
We have time for a few more, so we'll go Les and then Daniel Gallen.
Hi, Doug. Did you ask Carson about that report today? It's a pretty important report, given the stakes here. If Carson Wentz wants to be traded, did you approach him about that at all, or ask anybody else if that were the case?
No.
Go ahead, Daniel.
Hey, Doug, we saw Zach Ertz sitting alone on the bench after the game for a while. He's someone whose future is a little uncertain, had some struggles with injuries this year. What have you kind of seen from veterans like him throughout this year, and how have you kind of seen the emotions from older guys like that as the season ends?
It's tough on the veteran guys. I know exactly how they feel. I've been there, and they give everything to the organization and to their teammates, and in Zach's case, it's not the season he had hoped for either. With the injuries and the things that he dealt with this season, but he gave everything he had today and left it out there, and he battled right to the end. It's hard. It's hard when it's the last football game of this season, of 2020, and you just want to take it all in and soak up the emotion, and you think about the immediate future and your plans and as a player, and but then at the end of the day, you get back in there with your teammates and just support each other, and it's a hard thing for these guys, because they put so much into each season.
Thanks for your time, Coach.
Thank you.
Okay, that's Coach Doug Peterson sharing his thoughts after today's loss. Of course, a lot of big picture things, saying the next couple of days are going to be evaluations, player evaluations, the interviews with players, the exit interviews, of course, and then sitting down with the staff and formulating a plan to move forward. We can expect a lot of changes, of course, as there are every year, and Coach Peterson continuing to reiterate that there's a lot to change and a lot to fix here in Philadelphia. And perhaps what stood out most to me from his conversation just now on Carson Wentz, saying, look, I feel like together we can get things corrected and get things back on track. So certainly going to be a lot of questions about Wentz, Hurts, the entire quarterback situation in Philadelphia throughout the offseason. The entire NFL will be watching. And I think that, Fran, I'm going to bring you in now. And that was Ike's big question for the offseason. Is that your big question for the offseason, or is there perhaps, I almost said besides the QB situation, because it feels like it goes without saying, but the big question for the offseason is, what is it for you?
It is certainly the biggest question, because it's the most important position in all of sports. So the Eagles have got to figure out what they're going to do at that position. There are a lot of different avenues that they can go here, but they've got to figure that out. So that'll be number one. But outside of that, it's not just necessarily the quarterback position. It's about trying to figure out ways to be able to put him in position to succeed. So whoever that quarterback is, you're trying to figure out ways to help him. Whether you're doing that with scheme, trying to get the offensive line healthy, continuing to improve at wide receiver and getting those guys coached up, putting those guys in position to be able to make plays, getting the run game going. All of those things all go towards helping the quarterback as well. So all of that is going to be, enveloped into one big, the talking point and discussion point and really objective for this team going into the offseason for sure. But without question, the quarterback position in and of itself, that's going to be number one.
Well, and of course, yes, like you said, that will be number one, and that's going to be a national storyline. The entire country is going to be watching, wondering, and of course, however that shakes out could be affecting the landscape of the NFL, other teams, depending on how things unfold there as well. But let's talk about, like you mentioned, supporting that quarterback position. I do kind of want to go position by position here as we wait to hear from more players tonight and talk about position groups and who's standing out to us, the outlook moving forward. And I think when you're talking about supporting your quarterback, and one of the ones that we've had a microscope on all season long was this offensive line, where there were so many injuries, so many different combinations. Now on the other side of a season where that's happening, that means a lot of experience for a lot of young players and potentially guys coming back, hopefully guys coming back from injuries next season. Brandon Brooks was activated to practice this week. We are hoping to have Lane Johnson back next year, potentially. Andre Dillard, potentially. Now you have a lot of valuable experience for Jordan Mailata. So there's, and many other players as well. So what do you think about the outlook for this offensive line unit moving forward and young guys having some experience?
It's certainly, that's the silver lining with all those injuries, is that you got to see a lot of guys play. I think ultimately, look, when you look at this for what the organization does now going into the offseason, you're going to look at all these guys that played, all the guys that are on the roster, all the guys that were hurt and didn't play this year, everybody that you've got on the 90-man roster when you enter the offseason. Is this guy a building block for us moving forward? Is he a starter long-term, short-term? What can he be down the road? Can he be a starter or a key role player for us in 2022, 2023? Do we need some development and some seasoning? Because remember, not every guy is ready-made to be able to make an impact right away. So what can this guy be for us down the road? Is this guy just a role player? Is he just at his best? His ceiling is as a number 3 guy on the depth chart at whatever his respective position is. Those are fine. Every team needs those, but it's about identifying at each position who are the guys that we think can be impact players for us, who are the guys that we feel can be key role players for us, and who are the guys that aren't either of those, and then trying to figure out how you can supplement each position on the depth chart. So really that's what the next couple of weeks are going to be all about for the coaching staff, their meetings with their players, their meetings with themselves, as they just got, they get together with the personnel side as well, because everybody's now going to be watching the film, going through it, and really kind of having those big picture conversations of how do we kind of get ready for this offseason. Because you like I said earlier, it's not just the draft. You got to get through free agency and everything that's involved with that. There are a lot of aspects to it.
Of course. All right. And then when we're talking about young players moving forward, I think a real bright spot, Alex Singleton, after this season. The linebacker is now at the podium.
This is kind of tall.
Hey, Alex. Thanks for taking the time. We'll get started here with Ed Kratz and then Mike Kay.
Hey, Alex. I just want to ask you if you've given any thought to your future, and I know you're an exclusive rights free agent. How much do you want to come back here?
Yeah, I want to be here. This is, the place that gave me an opportunity. So, and I, as much as I know about the exclusive rights, it's in the Eagles' hands, and hopefully I'm back here for 2021.
Mike and then Wolf.
Hey, Alex. It seemed like the defense really played their hearts out for Jim Schwartz in a game that was based around pride. What did he tell you guys in that huddle prior to the game?
Just leave it all out there. It's the last game. We got 60 minutes to play together. It's pro sports. You're never going to get to play with those guys again. So, leave it all out there and do everything you can to win this game, and, just put everything out there.
What has Jim meant to you since you've been here, as far as defensive coordinator is concerned?
I mean, that's the smartest football mind I've ever been around. Just the stuff that he knows. I take notes, just all the stuff that he says all the time. And, just the little nuances to the game that I've just learned just from him talking. Just the day in and day out, just in a casual meeting, just what he, on third down and short, just the stuff that he says that just kind of, I think he just knows so much football and, just, everything. And, I think he says all the time, he might be the hardest guy on us, and I think you just learn to respect it so much as time goes on, and I respect him more than anything in the world and couldn't be happier to play for him.
Oh, and then Les.
Did Jim address the report that this will be his, he's stepping away in the offseason, that he's going to be stepping down? And did you guys talk about that as a team?
No, that's I don't. All the rumors, we've had so many rumors around here. Everything just kind of goes in one ear, goes out the other. We, no matter what it is, we're gonna play hard every game.
Go ahead, Les, and then John McMullen.
So you didn't know about this, Alex, until I guess it came out yesterday. What was your reaction
to the rumors about Jim?
Jim's the fact that Jim will step down.
Just like anything, we're gonna come out and do everything we can. Whether someone's staying, leaving, we're gonna do everything we can. The whole room's gonna change. No matter what. Like I said, it's pro sports. You're never gonna play with the same 11, the same coaching staff. No matter if you're a Super Bowl champion or a team that had a season like us. It's just all about just doing everything you can to play with each other for the 16 that you get.
Thank you.
Go ahead, John.
Hey, Alex, to kind of follow up on that, you've obviously been around. You've been New England, Seattle, I think Minnesota. Have you thought about potentially going into a new defense now that you've kind of solidified yourself in this one?
No, I haven't thought about nothing but Washington this whole week, and Dallas the week before that. This is the National Football League. If you start thinking about the future, you're gonna get punched in the mouth. So I've been focusing 100% on the games that we've had.
All right, thanks for the time, Alex.
Yeah, thank you guys.
Okay, that is Eagles linebacker Alex Singleton after another fantastic game from him, leading the team in tackles tonight, 8 solo, 14 combined. I'm guessing that he might be nominated for the Toyota Player of the Week later, and he might be getting my vote. Talking about the rumors about what Jim Schwartz's future holds. Look, he just said, we'll find out when we find out. I haven't heard anything, of course, no surprise there. But talking about how Jim Schwartz is the smartest football mind that he has ever been around. Very high praise there. And of course, Alex Singleton talking about his own future, saying he wants to stay in Philadelphia. And look, the whole room is going to change, which is what happens every offseason, that there are going to be some changes. So, Fran, I'm going to come to you now, and I was going to go put – oh, never mind. We are going to have a player at the podium in just a couple of minutes here. So we'll have to take a listen in just a minute after tonight's game. All right, All right, I'm going to bring in Fran now, actually. So, Fran, I am going to come to you, and why don't we talk a little bit about the linebacker group? This was a group that had a lot of questions coming into this season. There was not a lot of experience. There were a lot of young players, and then they were still hit with some injuries. But this is a young group where I think we have there are a couple of pieces here that you can be excited about. Alex Singleton for me, one of them. TJ Edwards for me, another one of them. What do you think about this group as a whole moving into the offseason?
Yeah, I think it all goes back to what we talked about earlier before Alex came to the podium, in that you're trying to figure out with all of these guys, what can they be for us moving forward? And that's the big decision the team has.
And on that note, TJ Edwards is at the podium, so we'll continue discussing this in a little bit.
Hey, TJ, thanks for taking the time. We'll get started here with Chris Franklin.
Hey, TJ, there's a report out there that Jim Schwartz will not be returning next season. Just want to know, have you heard that, and what's your reaction, and also what it was like to play for Schwartz?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the report, but I don't know if it's, true or not or anything like that. But if it is, I think, just historically, a lot of people have just so much respect for Coach Schwartz, including everyone in this organization. I think especially just this year, he found a way every single week to, give us a motive to be, angry and motivated every week. And, just the way he talks about, the game and different scenarios and things like that, you learn so much just from a simple conversation. So, he means, a lot to us, and we appreciate everything. I don't know if that report's true or anything like that, but if it is, obviously, we hold him in a high regard.
Go ahead, Ed Krafts.
Yeah, hi, TJ. Such a tough season. I mean, when you reflect on it, what are some things you'll take away from this year?
Yeah, I just thought in general, it's a resilient group. I think you guys know football goes. There's, injuries and adversity that hits, different teams in different ways. And I just thought that this year it was, always someone, next man up and ready to go and ready to take on that next opportunity. So I just think in general, this team, became very close, as the season went on. And, we all had a common goal and just, kind of fell short in some games and, didn't execute at times. But I thought, we scrapped to the end no matter what. And that's, something to be proud of.
We'll go to Zach Berman and then Mike K.
TJ, in this game tonight, I guess, did you feel like the team did everything they could to win the game as far as the decisions that the coaches made and the personnel they put out there?
Yeah, I thought 100%. I thought we went out there and competed, and every single guy that was out there gave their best effort and, made some really good plays. And, there's obviously always things to clean up and things like that. But I thought, we were playing that game to win no matter what. That was a talk all week. That's been the talk all year. And, just kind of fell short tonight.
And so feeling that way, on the sideline, what was your reaction when Jalen Hurts was pulled for Nate Sudfeld?
We didn't really know, what was going on. I just kind of saw Suddy out in the field, but, Suddy's a great player, and, we go against him every single day, and that dude is, a really good quarterback. So we had confidence in him as well. Didn't really know the scenario or anything like that, but it didn't matter. I knew that, everybody out there wanted to win, and, just couldn't get it done tonight.
Mike and then Al Thompson.
TJ, you've had a rough season dealing with injury and adversity and everything like that. I know you guys didn't come up with the win, but what did the pick mean to you, your first career interception, and how can you build off that moving forward?
I don't think it was rough. I think, definitely it was times where, I wanted to make some plays and couldn't, and then, the injuries and things like that. But that's football. So I had to find a way to bounce back and really just lean on my teammates and things like that. But, it was definitely good to make a play in the passing game, and especially, coming up short on the one in the end zone. Wish I could have that one back, but, a great play. But, no, it felt good to get my hands on the ball and, make an impact on the game.
Al and then Bo Wolf.
Hey, TJ, how do you guys stay focused when the offense has been so inconsistent, especially in the second half, the last 4 games, not very many points scored at all? How do you stay focused, stay in the game?
Football is the ultimate team sport. We know that if one side of the ball is slacking, the other side is going to pick them up. And, there's many times this year the offense has picked us up when we've needed it too. So I just think that's kind of the ebb and flow of the game. And, we just didn't score enough points to get it done. I think it's kind of come down to a couple plays each game, and we just didn't make them. So, but I thought, all in all, both sides of the ball, including special teams, fought and scrapped and did everything, we could, and it just didn't happen.
Go ahead, Bo.
Hey, TJ, what was Doug's message in the locker room after the game?
Yeah, I think it was just one of those things where, he knew that everybody out there was, just giving everything they had. And a lot of guys were playing a lot of spots that, they were, a little new to, and some guys playing in their first games and things like that. And but there was no hesitation. We went out there and put it all on the line. And, a lot of good effort plays, a lot of good things that happened. And, just kind of came up short. It's kind of the, the story of the year. But just got to find a way to learn from it and, build into the offseason and keep going.
Thank you for your time, TJ.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, that's Eagles linebacker TJ Edwards after tonight's game. Edwards second in the team in tackles tonight. 7 combined, 3 solo, and of course that interception as well. One of the 2 interceptions that we saw tonight from some of the young players on defense. Marcus Epps at safety also adding another one, and that's his 2nd interception of the season. In a year where we didn't see a whole lot of takeaways and interceptions for this Eagles defense, a couple of young players stepping up tonight to put the ball back in the hands of their offense. Fran, I'm going to come back to you. Let's continue our discussion about the linebacker group. We just saw the 2 people that we had highlighted here, or I had highlighted here, Alex Singleton and TJ Edwards, with the upside for the linebacker group. And as we continue to wait for players, let's talk about that.
Yeah, it's going to be a big one, but I know we're heading back to the podium.
Fran, I'm sorry. Every time I do this. All right, Boston Scott's at the podium, so we're going to listen to him.
Hey, Boston. Thanks for taking the time. We'll get started here with Chris Murray and then John McMullen.
Boston, what was your reaction to Jalen being pulled in the fourth quarter when you guys were still in the game?
To be honest with you, I just try and stay dialed into my job, so I didn't realize what was going on. You know what I mean? And where I'm at, I don't ask questions. So I just go out there, do my job, and compete, try and win a football game. So that's what I was focused on.
We'll go John McMullen and then Mike Luongo.
Hey, Boston. Obviously, season hasn't gone as you guys would have liked. What was kind of Doug's messaging after the game, kind of wrapping up the season with you guys?
You know, we fought, man. Nobody that stepped on that field, man, wanted to lose. Nobody that stepped on that field didn't have any fire. You know what I'm saying? They didn't lack energy. You know what I'm saying? That's what this team has been. You know, the energy has always been there. You know what I'm saying? It's just been those mistakes in critical situations. You know, myself, you know, I know personally there are plenty of things that I've done wrong this season. And in this league, man, it's about, you know, being able to do the fundamentals under pressure, you know, and execute. And we just didn't do that this year. But, you know what I'm saying, like a positive to take from it is we fought each and every week. The energy was always high. We always stayed closely knit no matter what. But at the end of the day, this is the NFL, you know what I'm saying? And we got to execute better than we did this season.
We'll go to Bo Wolf and then Chris Murray.
Hey, Boston. There's a report that Carson Wentz plans to request a trade. He doesn't want to be on the team anymore. I'm sorry to put you in this position, but you're who we get to talk to. Have you seen anything like that from Carson? What is your sense of him and how he's handled the last few weeks?
Carson's plugged in, man. He's plugged in here. He's been in Jalen's ear, helping him out whenever he can. You know, he's been continuing to work hard, continuing to attack each day like a professional, and he's been a leader, you know what I mean? And so I have nothing but respect for Carson Wentz, always will. And whatever happens with him, you know what I mean? Like, he has the full support of this team. We've always viewed him as a leader. We rock with him no matter what. So there hasn't been any change in his mood. There hasn't been any change in his attitude. That's who Carson Wentz is, a winner. He's a competitor, and he's a great dude. And so you wouldn't have even known that, you know, he's in the situation that he was in. You know, he's just been so positive.
We'll go to Ed Crafts.
Hey, hi, Boston. What have you learned about Jalen Hurts over these last 4 games that maybe you did not know about, you know, in the first 12 weeks and August training camp?
Yeah, man. I mean, to be honest with you, I watched him in college. You know what I mean? I knew about his story. I knew where he came from. You know what I mean? And whenever he came here, he just had this humbleness about him. You know what I mean? And he would go to work every day, you know what I mean, and you know, just his attention to detail, you know what I mean, and he took every rep that he took, whether it was on scout team, you know, whether he was playing, each rep, you know, was, you know, he treated it as though it was his last rep, you know what I'm saying, and so, man, he just competes every day. It doesn't matter the situation, whether it's walkthrough, you know, practice, obviously in the game, like he's all in, you know what I mean? And so, you know, like I said, I have the utmost respect for all the guys in that QB room. You know, they all are competitors. They all want to win. So it's been cool to see Jalen get the opportunity to come in and play. And so, you know, like I said, I'm just rocking. You know, I'm doing my job and rocking with whoever's in there.
Thanks for the time, Boston.
Thank you.
Okay, Boston Scott, the team's leading rusher for this game with 65 yards on 15 carries. And Fran, I have promised the people a linebacker conversation, and I've interrupted you 2 times just when you were starting to get going. So let's get back to that conversation. Take it away.
So it goes back to an earlier conversation, which we were talking about basically going position by position. I really, the process right now for the Eagles is they're going into this and saying, okay, who are the guys that we can count on to be impact starters? Who are the guys that can be backups and key role players? And who are the guys who are a step below that are going to be fighting for roster spots week in and week out? Where are the areas that we can improve? Where are the areas that we need to improve? And a lot of that is going to be based as well on the type of style you play. So this isn't just speaking to linebacker. This goes to every single position on the field. How important is it to have a running back that can do X, Y, Z, or a wide receiver that can, win off a jam or can win at the catch point, or is a great route runner or great yards after catch? All of those different aspects of the position come into discussion, come into play. And when you're looking at the linebacker position, specifically, whatever the Eagles are going to be playing defensively going into 2021, you say, what traits do you value at that position? The guys that are here, how do they fill those traits? And that's when you start making your decisions on trying to address that position in the offseason. So that's when I say there's a lot of work ahead, and there's a lot of work every offseason. There's a lot of work ahead for this Eagles organization going into the next few weeks and certainly the next few months.
Well, and I think that's probably a great point, especially about the defense, because you don't quite know what the future holds when it comes to the scheme. We've heard the reports about Jim Schwartz possibly not being there next season. We don't know. There's always a lot of turnover every single year. So what is that going to look like? And then from there, like you say, you have your scheme, you have your identity, then you decide what kind of players fit this scheme. I am interested, though, and I do want to talk about some of the young players, especially guys that we saw tonight. People we learned a little bit more about either this season or tonight. When you look at these young linebackers, guys that got experience and now have some good experience in the NFL, whether they're in Philadelphia or elsewhere, what do you think the upside is? Who are you impressed with?
Well, I think both guys that we've heard from tonight, Alex Singleton and TJ Edwards, both have shown that they have the ability to play in the NFL. And I think Duke Riley, you would say the same thing. And it's about understanding what are the expectations. What are you expecting from Duke Riley? If Duke Riley is your second or third linebacker and he's playing in sub package and he's a core special teamer, that's a win, right? That's what you like. And I think if you look at what the Eagles have right now at linebacker, that's the role that you would imagine for Duke Riley. But I think when you look at TJ Edwards, his play recognition skills, his ability to come downhill and defend the run, and I know, there are questions about him from an athletic standpoint, but his instincts in coverage are very good. His ability to play the ball in the air are very good. I know we saw that. It's kind of recency bias that we saw the interception tonight, but I promise he makes those kinds of plays in practice, and he made those kinds of plays at Wisconsin. He was a very productive player in coverage going back to his days in college. So I think that's what TJ Edwards has shown so far this season when he's been healthy. And then when you look at Alex Singleton, his decisiveness and his aggressiveness downhill really fit well in this scheme, because you have a defensive line that is attacking downhill. When you have linebackers behind those guys that are willing to attack downhill, press the line of scrimmage, that actually takes some of the pressure off those defensive linemen, because those double teams are not going to last as long. You're not going to have two linemen grappling with a defensive tackle if you've got a linebacker screaming downhill. So Fletcher Cox, Javon Hargrave, Malik Jackson, when you have linebackers behind you that are attacking downhill, that helps, and that's why the Eagles are an attacking scheme. It really helps to create some of those one-on-ones. So that's what you like from Alex Singleton in this scheme moving forward. But those are all the things that they're going to have to talk through and discuss and break down, really moving forward through the next few weeks.
We are waiting to hear from Jalen Hurts, but I think it is only fair if we're having a linebacker conversation that we bring in Ike Reese and get his thoughts. Ike, we are not trying to tease you here by leaving you out of this conversation. What do you think about this position group and some of these young players and their upside moving forward?
I'll tell you, I've grown to like these guys as the season has gone on. The first half of the season, I just thought they were just guys that were out there, not necessarily guys that were difference makers. But as the season has gone on, and particularly in the second half of the season, once TJ Edwards got back out there and was healthy, and Alex Singleton became a regular fixture in the lineup every week, you started to see that they have playmaking ability. And that's the one thing I've always felt that we've been missing at the linebacker position, really since Jordan Hicks and Michael Kendricks left here, is that we just don't have guys out there that make plays to either get you the football back or they're attacking the quarterback. And at least I saw that from Alex Singleton and TJ Edwards at times on the second half of the season. So you're certainly encouraged by that. I want to see more. I'm also intrigued by what a guy like Davion Taylor can bring to the table. I like what I saw when he flashed on special teams at times. His size, his speed, his quickness is what today's linebackers are built like, but he has to understand how to play at this level. The same thing can be said for a guy like Sean Bradley out of Temple. I like what they've shown on special teams, but if you're going to be a player in this league, particularly on defense, on regular downs, you have to understand down and distance, and you have to be a difference maker if you're going to be out there. So it's encouraging what we're seeing at that position, but it also could use some infusion of talent. And moving forward, I'll be interested in seeing if there is a new defensive scheme brought in. Do they incorporate the linebackers a little bit more? Do they become part of the playmaking, the schemes? Are they a part of the blitz packages, things of that nature? That's what you want to see. When I look at this Eagles defense, we need to get more playmakers at the second level and the third level of the defense. I like our defensive line, but our linebackers and our secondary, we don't have enough playmakers there. And that's one of the things moving forward I would like to see improve.
I think that has been something that we've heard throughout this season. And let's move to the secondary now and evaluate. Of course, we saw a lot of injuries there this season, and a lot of young players given some opportunity. Some really did well in that situation. We, of course, saw some growing pains from younger players there as well. But we'll start with the safeties and then we'll go corners, or we can go positionless if you guys prefer this. But I do want to focus, I do want to start with the safety position, and especially because I thought that especially tonight and in the last couple games, Fran, for me, Marcus Epps has really been a bright spot for a young player who's been progressing and who made some big plays in the last couple games.
And to me, this becomes a bigger discussion in terms of allowing players time to develop. Because I think there are two guys on this team that you would point to and say, man, these guys could be building blocks moving forward. We're really impressed with these young players. Josh Sweat at defensive end, Jordan Mailata at left tackle. Both guys were our third-year players.
Oh, actually, Jalen Hurts is at the podium now when we're talking about young players. So, of course, Fran, I'm going to interrupt Fran for the 800th time tonight and turn it over to Jalen Hurts.
Hey, Jalen, thanks for taking the time. We'll get started here with Chris Murray and John McMullen.
Jalen, after these 3 or 4 games that you have played in for the Eagles, how would you evaluate your own performance?
For me, not enough. When I was granted the opportunity to lead this team, I had every intention on making it to the postseason and getting those things. But there are a lot of learning experiences out there for me, out there for this football team. And, I've said it before, those are things that we will learn from. We're going to learn from them, and the sun will shine real soon.
Were you disappointed at being pulled in the fourth quarter?
As a competitor, I play to win, and you got to trust coach with that.
John and then Martin Frank.
Hey, Jalen, was that the plan coming in? Did you guys have a game plan in place where Nate would come in at some point, or was that kind of just in game?
I knew Nate's worked really hard all year, and I think he's a great player. Coach wanted to give him an opportunity at some point in the game, and he was given the opportunity. Obviously, like I said, me being a competitor, talk about winning all the time, going out there and trying to win all the time, and that's what I'm all about. But like I said, I trust coach with that. That's all I can do.
Martin and Zach Berman.
Hey, Jalen, can you describe what kind of happened on that fourth and goal play? I know you were under some pressure there, but did you see Quez, and do you think you could have made a better throw?
without a doubt. Couldn't really get it. Couldn't get the ump on it like I wanted to. But yeah, most definitely. A situation like that, you score a touchdown. It's a throw that I make often. Score a touchdown, it's 21-20 maybe in the end, and they have to go score. So it's tough.
Zach and then Jeff McLean.
Hey, Jalen, you said you're a competitor and you play to win. What kind of message does it send then when in a 3-point game, the starting quarterback gets pulled?
Can you repeat your question?
Yes. What's the message that it sends to you as a leader in the locker room and to the locker room overall when the starting quarterback gets pulled in a 3-point game in the fourth quarter? Is that playing to win in that situation?
No, I know Coach had a plan to, go about it the way he did, and I believe he stuck to his plan. So, I hate that in the end, I had an opportunity to go up, making that throw, trying to take advantage of every opportunity I had. So making that throw is probably a different outcome. But, this it's kind of crazy because this was sit on my chest all off season. Kind of failing to get to the postseason. All the hard work we put in, it's going to sit on my chest, and it's going to sit on all of our chests. And we're going to come back on a mission.
Jeff McLean and then Jeff Skaversky.
Jalen, there was a report that Carson Wentz wants to be traded this offseason, that his relationship with Doug Peterson has been fractured. What do you make of that report?
That's something you have to ask those two individuals, Carson and Coach.
Jeff Skaversky and Mike Kay.
Hey, what's up, Jalen? I know earlier you said that, hey, you didn't feel like you did enough and you wanted to do more as the Eagles quarterback. Do you feel like you have shown Doug Peterson and this franchise enough that you're going to be the starting quarterback next season? Do you believe you have shown enough?
That's another question you got to ask him. But I'll just tell you where I'm coming from. I'll tell you where I'm coming from a mentality standpoint. I want to get better as a quarterback every day. As a competitor, I want to dominate and take advantage of every opportunity that I have. Obviously some things that I'm going to learn from, this team is going to learn from. Last 4 games, this whole entire season. And I think I take that very personally in learning from it. So, as I alluded to earlier, going into this off season on a mission.
And what's your understanding? What's your understanding of your status this off season and where you stand on the quarterback depth chart?
For me, just go out there and control what I can. Kind of the same question, but I promise you, I'm not worried about anything else but being the best quarterback I can be. And
Thank you.
that should handle itself.
Thank you.
Mike Kay and Ed Kratz.
Jalen, Zach Ertz's future's up in the air. He played the entire game tonight. What was his energy like in the huddle? What did he bring to the offense tonight? And what has he brought to you over these last 4 games?
I have a lot of respect for Zach. The things that he's done. He's a great player. And, the belief he's shown in me, encouragement towards me, I respect him. The work he puts in. I remember when I first got to Philadelphia, and I asked Zach, one of the training days we had, I asked him, I said, why do you play this game? What do you love about this game? He said, he truly has a desire to be the best. And it's a guy like that you admire that. It's a guy that I respect highly. And I respect his mentality about how he approaches it.
We have time for one more, so we'll end it here with Ed.
Yeah, hi, Jalen. You had the 4-game taste of the NFL now. What are the biggest differences that you've noticed between life in the NFL versus playing at big-time programs like Bama and Oklahoma?
Yeah, good to, I guess, get those, 4 games, 4 preseason games. Great competitors every Sunday. Great competitors every Sunday. I think regardless of who we're playing, who we're going out there and battling with, it all comes down to what you do and how you execute. Having that right mentality, going out there and executing and being consistent. Everybody being willing to learn from their mistakes, apply them moving forward, and go play ball. And I think this is a situation where we're all not satisfied with how this thing ended up, but it's a so what now one mentality, and that's what I have, and we're gonna be stronger from it. We're gonna work our tail off. I'm gonna work my tail off, and the sun will shine real soon.
Thanks for the time, Jalen.
Thank you.
All right, some final thoughts for the season from rookie quarterback Jalen Hurts as he wraps up his rookie season. We are going to take a quick break here on the postgame show. On the other side, of course, as always, the nominees for the Toyota Player of the Week, along with the Rico Review. We will see you in just a minute. The longest pass for quarterback Jalen Hurts tonight, 30 yards on a rope to J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, and Fran Duffy is going to break that one down for us in tonight's Rico Review.
So after the punt, the Eagles offense gets the ball, and once again, they move into enemy territory. And we're going to see here on a very third and long play, you're going to get 3 vertical routes here from these Eagles receivers. You're going to get J.J. Arcega-Whiteside working to the post. You're going to get Travis Fulgham here working out to one sideline, and you're going to get Jalen Reagor working to another. So 3 vertical routes against what is essentially 4 deep coverage. So you've got 4 defenders deep. You've got a little bit of an exotic look here from Washington, a pressure front where you don't know who's coming, but they're sending guys from multiple angles. So Jalen Hurts has got to be able to hang in the pocket and win on this down with his arm. And again, he knows that he's got J.J. Arcega-Whiteside working down the post against 2 high coverage, a split safety look. With those safeties split in the middle of the field, what does that do? It creates a void right between the hashes that this receiver, J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, can work into. Hurts knows this, and so when he steps back and faces this rush, you're going to see the pressure's going to come off the edge. They're trying to keep Jalen Hurts in the pocket. He steps up, delivers this throw, and Arcega-Whiteside comes through with a huge catch through contact to get the Eagles the first down and help set them up for their second touchdown of the game.
Now is your chance to vote for the Toyota Player of the Week. Go to PhiladelphiaEagles.com/Toyota Player of the Week to cast your vote and get a chance at a brand new Toyota. Tonight's nominees, Jalen Hurts, Malik Jackson, and Alex Singleton. The rookie quarterback in 3 quarters of action got it done with his legs tonight, rushing for 2 touchdowns, also throwing for 72 yards on 7 of 20 completions. And then Malik Jackson, the defensive tackle, 3 sacks tonight from this Eagles defense. Malik Jackson with 1 right here. He also added 2 solo tackles, 5 combined, and a QB hurry in his second season with the team. Finally, Alex Singleton adds 14 more tackles, 8 solo, and one of those 3 sacks as well, leading the team in tackles this season, and of course tackling inclusion. A big year for him, a great year to see him raise so much money for the Special Olympics in honor of his sister, a Special Olympics athlete. Alex Singleton is getting my vote. I feel like he's been the player of the night. He was featured in our pregame show, leading the team in tackles. I'm coming into this game, it was 106. 14 combined added to that, 8 solo. So again, I'm not doing math tonight, but I am giving Alex Singleton my vote for the Toyota Player of the Week. Ike, who are you going to take tonight?
Amy, you've been so great this year of leading the pack with who should be Toyota Player of the Week. I can't disagree with you. Once again this week, you nailed it. Come on, Alex Singleton has to be the Toyota Player of the Week. 14 tackles, including a sack. I mean, I can't go against that. Jalen Hurts scored 2 touchdowns, but 7 for 20, 70 yards. I'm not that impressed with that. I like the 14 tackles plus a sack. And plus, it's a linebacker. Final show, I got to give it to Alex Singleton.
Yeah, I think Ike's going to think I'm a genius every time I pick a linebacker. I think that's really the theme here. Fran, who are you going to take tonight?
Amy Campbell, the initials AC, always correct. I'm going to go here with Alex Singleton as well. I'll round us out. Yeah, I'm going to go with Alex Singleton, leading the team in tackles, what he's done here in the second half of the season, giving the Eagles fans a little bit of juice in terms of the linebacker position going into the offseason. As you mentioned, all of his production going towards a great cause. We'll go with Singleton here.
Yeah, I can't deny he's one of my favorite players on the team this season. I just love how just all the success that he's been having and what a big part of this team he has been. All right, I have to thank both of you, and I have to thank all of our fans for sticking with us all season long. I'm getting a little sad right now. This is our last show of the season. Of course, we will keep everybody updated on all things Philadelphia Eagles at PhiladelphiaEagles.com and all of our platforms. We have inside access that you can't get anywhere else. We have a fantastic team. Of course, Fran's going to be going with the Eagle Eye in the Sky podcast, the Journey to the Draft podcast, and digging into that film. If you want to be looking towards the draft, Fran is your expert. He already knows all of these prospects, and if you haven't been following him, you're behind on the next draft. Gentlemen, thank you so much for a wonderful season. It's been a pleasure. All right, I was going to give you a chance to say thanks so much, Amy.
I'm going to let Ike go.
That was your chance to say thank you, Amy. It's been so great working with you. Look, we do our best.
Thank you, Amy. Listen, Amy, you are the best quarterback / point guard that we have. You do a great job of setting myself and Fran up. I always enjoy working with you guys. It's been a strange year, but we've made the best of it. It's been a different year for everybody. And I'll just say this, we have a great team that we have here working together, being able to put these shows on. Hopefully we're all back next year doing it again.
Yeah, and hopefully we're all in studio in person next season, and we wouldn't be able to do this. We're on camera. The fans get to watch us every week, but we have an amazing crew, an amazing team that really makes all this happen, the magic happening all season through all the ups and downs. So really they are the true MVPs, the true Toyota Players of the Week for our show here. And of course, we want to thank all of you for sticking with us all season. As always, stay tuned to PhiladelphiaEagles.com moving forward, and we'll look forward to seeing you next time.